Good evening and welcome to another episode of Indie Inquiries, where we examine and review indie game store pages and provide you with advice on the best ways to market your games. I am Josh Beiser, and joining me again, my co-host, Robert Leach. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Good to see you again.
Well, we have ourselves another store page to review, and this one was submitted a while ago. And again, for those of you watching, if you'd like us to review your store page in a future piece, please reach out. There are links up there in the description. Message me, whatever you would want. But we are going to be reviewing the indie game The Last Defense this time. So let us take a look here, and as always, we'll start with the thumbnail. So off the bat, I think from a structural standpoint, I think it's a nice thumbnail. You have the different golems, you have the portal in the middle, and it all kind of like brings your eye down to the bottom.
Yeah, I like the colors. They kind of pop out. There's a nice kind of dark edge around that again kind of highlights everything in the middle. It is structurally it's very nice, and the focal point unfortunately has some issues to it. The colors kind of get lost. The text, the font gets lost. I mean, if I had my druthers, just make it larger. Your font is your font, I guess, and if you're using your exact title from the game, then you just gotta figure out a way to leverage that a bit more. But it's otherwise it's pretty eye catching. I think it'd be if I were scrolling through tower defense games, that was something I was really interested in. This might catch my eye enough for me to click on it.
But there is one mistake here that for people watching this, you may have noticed. If not, we gotta point it out. The title is not spelled correctly, or the same spelling as the actual store listing. If you look in the upper left there, it says Defense, D-E-F-E-N-S-E, where on the thumbnail it's D-E-F-E-N-C-E. And while it may not sound like a big deal, this is definitely one of those red flag situations. And not only that, but it's also messing with how people search for your game. If they see on your YouTube promotion Last Defense spelled like that, and they go to type it in, they're not going to find the game.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I admit I did not catch it the first time I looked at it, and then when Josh said it, I was just like, dope. Yeah, that's bad. Because, like you say, searching for the game, you see an image of it, you're going to type it the way the image shows you. And in addition to that, there's another game with a similar title. Well, yeah, similar by its name.
And I wonder if that's why the developer kind of renamed the thumbnail. But unfortunately, it is one of those cases where somebody has to change their name, and I think the other game came out earlier than this one.
Yeah, it did have an exclamation point at the end, so technically they're not the exact same name.
Yeah, and the text itself is also kind of hard to read as well. Like, I think that whole logo could be maybe just a little bit bigger with everything in it.
Yeah, agreed.
So in terms of the grade for it, like, if it didn't have that spelling issue to it, I could see it maybe being like a high C, somewhere around that for me. But with that issue, and with the general just like legibility or readability of the font, I'm going to, I think, have to just give it maybe like an average C.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and bump it to the C+ on my side. Like I say, in terms of something that'll catch my eye when I'm browsing, it does its job, I think.
And
not spectacular, but not...
Yeah, and I think structurally, there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I feel like some time actually went into the formatting here, just not the consideration as to the name. It's hard for me to tell which did come first.
Yeah.
The Steam title, which I think, per your argument, the graphic title must have come second, or the in-game title must have come second. It's hard to say, but someone might have said, hey, the Americans spell it different. They spell it with an S instead of a C, and so the Steam page got created separate and oversights. What can you do?
Yeah, and speaking of that, of people not noticing spelling, no one noticed on our last episode that inquiries was spelled incorrectly, and I just caught it literally as I was looking at the spelling mistake for the last offense.
It was a test for everybody, right?
Yep, and all of you failed, so how dare you. You must now subscribe to this channel as a recompense for it. But, yeah, so let us move on to the trailer, and let me see if I can get this full screen. There we go. Alright, so I'm going to play this on my side. So, intro is kind of on the slow side. Character is getting up. I think the transition to the gameplay is nice.
It is. I didn't know where it was going, but as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, that's a nifty way to go about it.
Just a little bit lower. I'm just gonna let it play out. So there's story, but it's just very hard to tell, like, what does "and" this mean?
Yeah, those little cutscenes after that initial half, the second half of the video gets lost in its own story that doesn't make any sense to the person watching this video for the first time. Mm-hmm. No voiceover, no text kind of describe. It goes with that gameplay initially. So I feel like that's a really good, action sequence. Maybe that initial thing could have been a little tiny bit shorter, but it launches into gameplay. Yeah. You see these various levels. It looks good. And then you see this extended series of shorter vignettes that kind of seem to have a story element to them, but again, you would not know, and it's a little confusing.
Yeah.
And the very end, by the way, says put on your wish list, coming soon. It's out. It's already out. So the game, it's telling you that it's coming soon in the only video you've got. So it's obviously an old video, outdated. There's not any new content from after launch or for the launch, in fact.
Yeah, and the trailer itself feels, like you said, like it feels like it ends at like the 35-second mark, and then it keeps going. Like when you see like the camera go into the portal, like it feels like that could have been a good like end point, or have that big final explosive finale. And it just kind of keeps going.
Yeah, it did. It just kept going. It was a perfect end. Shows you gameplay. It gives you all those notes of a really solid introductory video. Doesn't seem to be too heavy-handed in one way or the other. And then, like you say, yeah, it keeps going. It doubles the amount of time of the video for seemingly no good reason.
Mm-hmm. And as like the end point, it like the whole 15 seconds, that's definitely way too long to have that kind of call to action. And the beginning is not really a cold open, it's just very slow. They could probably cut out like another 3 to 4 seconds of that intro. The transition was nice. Again, the actual gameplay shown, I mean, nothing wrong with that at all. But actually, probably more closer to maybe 8 seconds. They probably could have cut out that whole opening. But it feels, again, like maybe like a 30-second trailer that's been padded out to be almost a minute 20.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe somewhere along the line, the developer heard that maybe you need a minute trailer, and so tagged all that stuff on. Or I know that from reading a bunch of this stuff, he's really interested in getting out that his game is story rich. Which doesn't come through in the trailer after showing all this stuff.
Yeah,
and the music itself, a little underwhelming. Doesn't really do anything for the trailer.
Yeah, and I feel like if you're trying to push story, this game probably needs a second story focused trailer for it.
For sure.
Yeah, so I think overall for me, not the best trailer for this game. I think I don't feel it's in the F range, but I can't. I think I may just have to go like with a solid D for it.
Yeah, I'll be the generous one here as well. Again, and give it a D plus. Again, just for the that first half, they did such a good job. I'll ignore the second half for the benefit of the grade. But yeah, not the worst thing ever, but not. There's still a lot of improvement that could be had to bring it up to just kind of a standard what you should have in your thing, bare minimum.
So let's go with the images next. So all the bad, we only have 5 images, and 2 of them were definitely copied from the trailer. That would be number 1 and number 5. And that is unfortunately a no-no.
Yeah, there should be enough content in the game. I mean, for a tower defense game, not only do you have the levels, and for all I know, this is all the levels. Could be, I don't know.
Yeah.
But you should have a ton of enemies to showcase. You should have a ton of spells and particle effects to showcase. Like having one of my favorite elements of a tower defense game is when you get into the really tough areas. Like the screen is just loaded with enemies and loaded with turrets. And so there's all kinds of chaos on the screen. That'd be nice to see something like that to show how crazy the game could get.
And that would have also been a really good kind of final explosion, or the final scene of the trailer as well.
Yeah,
so because we don't meet even the 5 original screenshot threshold, and like the images and the title card are like the 2 sections that are very easy to do right and very easy to fail on, I think for me, I originally was thinking about giving this a D plus. I think I may just have to go down to a D, because what you just said about having, really showing off the craziness of the tower defense is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I talked myself down as well.
And that's unfortunately not good. So I think I'm going to give it a D.
I'll go with the D on this as well. I would say the bonus, not the bonus, but the good part of these screenshots is it showcases tower defense. It doesn't seem to want to pull any wool over anyone's eyes, but it doesn't highlight anything in particular that's special about the game.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that can be a marketing killer for games like this.
Yeah.
I do love that on the is this game relevant to you? It says this game is just like Elden Ring and The Witcher.
Oh my god.
Completely nothing tower defense related.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you'd fool anybody with these screenshots if you were saying it's like The Witcher or Elden Ring. No.
So let's get to the About This Game section. Right off the bat, we have something very annoying, and that's this GIF right here. I mean, it's a very speedy GIF, that's good, but one, it's very obnoxious on the eyes with the zoom in to a white screen, and even with the Thug Games being like only stable for maybe half a second.
Yeah, it gets blurry really fast, and if you are watching it a couple of times, which if you're reading the text right beneath it, you're going to be seeing it, and it gets blurry. It messes with your eyesight a little bit. It's
and I've had to scroll down a little bit below that just so that we're not giving anyone any major eye problems on this one. Yeah, and as what Rob pointed out, Thug Games is spelled incorrectly with the G's.
Well, I think this logo might be okay, but I know that towards the bottom you see it spelled incorrectly.
Oh yeah, you're right. And we'll get to that one when we get down there. Yeah, you follow the narrative. Thug Games is spelled wrong right there. Yeah, so the store page is definitely not starting off on a good foot there. So first thing, or first paragraph, I mean, it's a correctly sized paragraph, but the problem that this store page I think has is that it's not giving me a reason to play this game. You're telling me it's story rich, very narrative driven. I'm not really seeing anything of that here. You're telling me it's a tower defense game, it's got all this strategy and challenge. I'm not really seeing that conveyed here.
Yeah, I see tower defense. Like that's it. It just seems to emphasize that it is in fact a tower defense. But yeah, it doesn't show difficulty. It doesn't show much story. I always what one thing irks me a little bit is the inline editing, the markup that Steam allows for, and people don't always take advantage of. And
Yeah.
there's a hyphen at the beginning of this paragraph. I can't tell if it was a bullet they meant to put in or if it's just a typo
Yeah.
that got left in somehow. It's tough, That's the kind of thing that should be easy to catch and then delete. It's not
Yeah.
a huge ask for that.
Yeah. And like the two middle GIFs of the actual gameplay, I mean, they look solid. Like, it's a tower defense game. I mean, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Yeah, again, if I'm a tower defense fan and I'm just like looking for more content, looking for more tower defense content to play, I might be interested. This game looks okay. It seems to have all those elements, but nothing is drawing me to it. Nothing is saying, if you like tower defense games, boy, howdy, are you going to love this?
Yeah.
It's
And we have, of course, seen many fantastic examples of tower defense games. And yeah, like the second GIF, I feel it's a little too long. Could maybe cut like a second or two. And yeah, like this final one, again, it's like, okay, we learned about the story of archers. And that's it.
Yep. It showcases, I feel like it says narrative and shows a book. And that's the only tie-in, because otherwise Archers is just another piece to use during tower defense, or if it's an enemy, I can't tell.
Yeah, and it's another GIF, as I look at it, it's like bothering my eyes, because when it starts, it kind of like stutters for a second. And it's also, now that I know, it's a different resolution compared to the other GIFs on the page.
Good call.
Yeah, so again, you want consistency, and you want to have quality to what you're showing. And I am not seeing that here on this page. And
it's lacking. Like, you could go into more depth. I mean, you have that opening paragraph that gives you what you need, and then go into more depth as you go down. If the player keeps getting interested, you can keep engaging with them. The bullets themselves, again, they're not.
No
they don't seem like
text.
They're not section headers. Yeah, they're just kind of bullets with an image underneath. They could be an image with text underneath as well. But yeah, it's a shrugger. It's an okay.
And I hate to say it, but I think I've talked myself down to a lower grade than what we originally said. I think for me, I'm going to have to go with a D- for the store page because of the mismatched GIFs and the fact they're just like really bothering my eyes as I'm staring at them.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate problem with GIFs. It's just, they're so repetitive that any element that adds to that repetition really stands out, I should say. Like the two gameplay ones, they're fine because it's a still camera. A lot of the elements are moving and reset, sure, but they're still pretty consistent. But when you get to the narrative one where the camera's moving and then it shifts to a black screen again and just repeats, that kind of thing is a nuisance, especially if you're just trying to read.
I think for me, I'm gonna go D-.
Yeah, I'll go D. I'll be the generous one again. But again, that also was a knockdown from my initial grade. Just so I don't know if you still have it on the screen, but the Thug Games, THU, capital G, everywhere else on this page and on their website, it's THU, lowercase g, and then a capital G.
Okay.
So don't want to get your development company wrong. Most people won't notice it. But yeah, if you see it, you can't unsee it, and it's something you should just have right anyway.
Yeah. And I'm going to try and get this angle so we don't get too much eye strain from that top GIF to cover the title card. So, title card, right off the bat, we have a pretty big issue. There is only one genre tag. And as we've said, you need at minimum 3 because they are the gimmies. Single player and indie are, that is pretty much standard if you're going to have a single player indie game.
A lot of games. I mean, they all have a lot of games in them, but when you put in strategy and that's all, well, that does couple you in with the AAAs, doesn't it? And it's a tough battle to win.
And it hurts again how the algorithm is going to pitch your game to other people. Like, I don't know if tower defense is a genre tag in of itself. I was trying to look that up before we did the recording. I couldn't find an answer to that. But you still at least need 3 genre tags. That is, again, standard default for this.
Yeah, I don't know if it's mentioned just in the various labels, or because in the store page it does have a subsection of tower defense, but I don't know if that draws it from just the keywords or not, or if it's a setting that can only be put in the back end.
Yeah. So with the information they've listed here, so they have a Discord server, that's good, but it's not mentioned anywhere else on this page. And while we're not going to take points for that, it would have helped more if the Discord server was mentioned in the About This Game section. So we have a Twitter, and we looked it up, so you can contact the developer on Twitter. YouTube channel hasn't been updated all that much, but it's there. The website is on the basic side. Like, it doesn't help, but it doesn't hurt, but it doesn't really help this store page.
Yeah, and it actually was a little confusing to me because on the website there About This Game is a lot more appropriate than the one that's on the Steam page. It actually highlights more of the game than just in this particular case on the Steam page. It's just take part in the war through King Severin's perspective, right? It just goes into this narrative that I'm not connected to. But on the website, it says, this is a tower defense game, and you got mages you're going to deal with. It certainly mentions the character names, but as kind of like in collaboration with the game you're about to look at. So I kind of wish you just copy-pasted that about to the Steam page.
Yeah, it's definitely lacking in terms of the information here. And like we said, like the title card is another one that's very easy to get a high score or very easy to get a low score on. I mean, missing the tags is definitely a big issue. And again, I think I'm talking myself to a lower grade. That's not something you want to do. That's not a good sign for a store page. I think for me, the fact that it's missing the genre tags and the fact that the website is presenting more information that could have been useful on the About This Game page, I think I think I'm going to have to go with just a solid D for the title card. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that one.
Yeah. So unfortunately, this is not looking like it's going to get a high grade from either one of us. So I think overall, we had the trailer at kind of like a D plus range. I think for me, overall for the store page, it just gets a D for me. What about you?
Yeah, it gets a solid D. I mean, certainly there's areas where it's like a D plus or C minus or whatever, but taking everything as a whole, nothing does the other parts any specific favors. So yeah, a solid D seems about right.
Yeah, and unfortunately, this is one of those cases where to get this fix would require some work in terms of reshooting the trailer, redoing some of those GIFs. And of course, the bad thing is that the algorithm stuff, I think it's too late for this game for that to really help it. And it's one of the reasons why we say you really have to get the stuff, down pat before you officially announce and officially start pushing your store page.
Yeah, agreed there. I know that one thing that's, you could look at it as a glass half full kind of thing here, that if you're not actively marketing this particular page, it's not doing any good or harm at the moment. No one's going to stumble across this page, period. It's not going to show up on anyone's algorithm or search. it's disappeared. It's already heaped underneath piles and piles of other games. So I mean, it's basically invisible for the most part. So no one's gonna decide whether or not to buy it based on your page right now. However, if you're gonna actively market this, if you're gonna put time and effort and even money into pushing this Steam page, you better go back and fix all this stuff and just make it pretty it up and update all the trailers and stuff. And one thing I noticed is that there's two, I wouldn't say, there's one review and then one comment in the forums that's also kind of a review. They're not terribly positive, but they're not negative either. I mean, they're more informative and not in a good sense. But the developer doesn't interact at all. There's no developer updates or mentions, and the trailer's out of date. So it almost feels like an abandoned page at this point.
Yeah. And when I'm looking at like the more like this section, Steam is recommending more RPGs and action-adventure games than it is tower defense. So even Steam is not quite sure, who this game is really for.
Well, I will say on mine, I do get tower defense. I get Rogue Tower, I get Bloons TD, another tower defense, and Tunic. I don't know if that's a tower defense.
No, Tunic is an action-adventure, kind of Zelda-like.
Oh, then Elder Scrolls. So
yeah, I'm getting that too.
The ultimate tower defense game.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's a mod for it at this point that turns it into a tower defense. Yeah, so all in all, definitely not the best store page. And I mean, I've seen worse, but that's not the praise you want me to say about your store page here.
No, and the fact is, I feel like one of the best things I could say is that yes, there's going to be a lot of work, but at the same time, I don't believe that the work is hard. Mm-hmm. You've got to do a lot of changing around, but you're not having to fix your game at all to accommodate. You just have to update a couple things. You just tweak a couple of images, edit your text a little bit. That'll bring it up a full letter grade, I feel like, if you just do that and improve, like you say, the tags and genres and not that kind of thing.
But yeah,
doable.
It's doable, but it's going to be, I think, hard for this game to bounce back, unfortunately.
Oh, yeah. No, it's not going to sell any more copies because of that, unless, again, you're actively pushing people to
it. Yeah.
If you do come out with a sequel, it mentions this is going to be a trilogy. Mm-hmm. If you do come out with a sequel, definitely come back and edit this page.
Yeah.
Because people are going to look at it if there's a sequel coming out.
Definitely. So, I think with that, we can wrap up this episode. So, again, the final grade, I think we're both averaging right in a D. And for those of you watching who would like to submit your game, again, please reach out. We need to get some stuff that wows and excites us. We want to see a lovely B or maybe even an A at the bottom of our little overlay here.
Yeah, I want to be a part of an S. That's what I want.
Exactly.
I'll fall asleep dreaming of that moment. So difficult.
But we're going to say goodbye here. Again, if you'd like to reach out, you can send me messages on Twitter, Discord, whatever. I'm always looking for more store pages to review. You'll find links to all my stuff down in the description. And for you, Rob, are you still setting things up on your end?
Yeah, it'll probably be a solid 2 to 4 weeks, I'd say, from real time now, which is in mid-April, late April. God damn, it's already. Sorry, I'm. Yeah, I'll have stuff soon enough, and you guys will be able to track me down and yell at me however you want to contact me. But yeah, coming soon.
All right. So for everybody watching, thank you for tuning in. Do all the liking, subscribing, and commenting. We'll be trying to get through our backlog of games. And again, if you'd like to submit, please reach out. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. And until our next show, have a great night. Take care.